Welcome to the Celebrating Campus Heroes Symposium, powered by StandWithUs and M.A.C.A. At this unique gathering, we're joining together with participants from around the world to honor brave leaders who've stood tall in the face of hate and advocated for a better, safer campus climate. Amidst the turmoil of October the 7th, the most brutal attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust at the hands of the Hamas terrorist organization, and Israel being at war, college students have faced their own battles on campus as students, professors, administrators, outside agitators, and sometimes even former friends have vocalized support for Hamas and anti-Semitic rhetoric against Israel and their Jewish peers. During this crisis on campus, organizations like StandWithUs and M.A.C.A. have stepped up to support students in need and drive tangible change. StandWithUs is an international Israel education organization, and we've responded to thousands of reports of campus anti-Semitism and incidents since October the 7th. As a leader on campus, StandWithUs has worked around the clock to provide students with the knowledge, strategic guidance, and organizational support needed to effectively share Israel's story, combat hate, and advocate for a safer campus environment. StandWithUs has empowered students with pro bono legal support, assisted them in publishing articles and conducting media interviews, helped them organize Israel rallies and demonstrations, guided them through defeating divestment, and helped them report discrimination and harassment and demand accountability. We've cultivated student leadership through our high-level training programs, such as the StandWithUs Fly first-year leadership internship and the StandWithUs Emerson Fellowship. Collectively, we've organized 1,500 programs and engaged 150,000 students across North America. In the fight against anti-Semitism, parents have joined together as a united front to advocate for Jewish students on campus and hold perpetrators of anti-Semitism accountable. M.A.C.A, or Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism, started out as a Facebook group for parents eager to take action on campus after October the 7th and now boasts well over 60,000 members. M.A.C.A aims to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses by providing a platform for parents to share incidents, mobilize on joint campaigns, and advocate for safer environments for Jewish students. M.A.C.A's activities include circulating petitions, writing to politicians and university administrators, and organizing collective actions, such as withholding donations to institutions perceived as not doing enough to combat anti-Semitism. Additionally, the group has been instrumental in fostering a community of support among parents, helping them navigate their concerns against anti-Semitism affecting their children's college experiences. Now, StandWithUs and M.A.C.A are proud to have come together to present this critical symposium, celebrating leadership and courage among both Jews and allies in the fight against campus anti-Semitism. Today's symposium has several key components, starting with a panel featuring exceptional student leaders who've driven meaningful impact at their schools. These young leaders have exemplified courage, conviction, and a deep commitment to Israel and the Jewish people. It's my honor to be in conversation with them about the challenges they faced on campus, how they've stood up to hate, and how we as attendees can follow in their footsteps. So let's introduce our panelists now. Danielle York is a recent graduate from San Diego State University. She's a StandWithUs high school internship alum and also an Emerson Fellowship alum. In response to rampant anti-Semitism on campus, Danielle organized impactful programs to share Israel's story and inspire action from her peers, including organizing Israel solidarity rallies and events with Palestinian human rights activist Bassem Eid, StandWithUs educator Charlotte Korchak, testimony from IDF soldiers, and a Yom Ha'atzmaut event with over 150 students in attendance. Danielle, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Liam Shaw is here. He's a freshman at Columbia University. As a courageous freshman, Liam testified in front of Congress during the Columbia congressional hearing about the climate on campus. He's spoken to the media, spoken at rallies, and organized countless marches on campus. Even with Columbia's trend-setting encampment, Liam remained committed to calling out hate and inspiring his peers to do the same. Liam, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Shabbos Kestenbaum is a master's student at Harvard. After October the 7th, Shabbos has been very outspoken on social media, documenting hate at Harvard and inaction by the administration. He testified in front of Congress about the campus climate at Harvard, and he's part of a group of students suing Harvard for deliberately ignoring hostile and the dangerous climate. Shabbos, thank you so much for being with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And Sophie Shafran is a senior at Indiana University. She's also an Emerson and campus liaison alumni from Stand With Us. She's represented the Jewish community during many critical conversations about the war and the rise of anti-Semitism with diverse student groups and in strategic meetings with university leaders like the president and VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Sophie's actively advocated for the IHRA and greater action against anti-Semitism. And she also created a video promoting Zionist pride, which she received significant backlash for. Her leadership extends to mentoring incoming leaders through the Stand With Us Fly, first-year leadership internship as a campus liaison. Thank you so much for being with us, Sophie.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you all here and such an important discussion to have. Let's speak first about what's been the most challenging moments for you as campus leaders. Shabbos, let's go to you first. What hasn't been challenging on Harvard, I guess, and what's been the source of hope and strength during those moments?
Yeah, how much time do you have? I'll start with the more hopeful part, and that's amplifying our voices. The fact that Stand With Us is in this event right now, hearing from the students directly. I always say, whether it's Congress, the media, or those in the local Jewish community, that whatever people envision is happening on college campuses, I could almost guarantee you it's worse. And part of what makes them so shocked is they seldom hear from the students. They'll read about it, they'll listen to it on media, but they won't actually interact with the Jewish students themselves. So by amplifying our voices, by showing that the community, the greater community, cares about us, that is what has given us not only hope, but the strength to continue advocating. So that's number one, the amplification of our voices. In terms of the challenges, I mean, I sort of joked, but it is true. How much time you have? Because this did not begin on the night of October 7th, of course. Anti-Semitism at Harvard University has been building for years. It has certainly become inescapable and unavoidable after October 7th, but it was always there. So I would say, if I just had to pick one or two, the first has been either the inability or the unwillingness on behalf of Harvard University to combat anti-Semitism, to contend with the fact that there are students who do not feel safe on the campus anymore. I always say, if Harvard really cared about this issue, if they really wanted to combat anti-Semitism, they would have done it. We are now 8 months after October 7th, and they have yet to implement a single policy or enforce a single policy to combat anti-Semitism. So the lack of a willing partner on the other side has been an incredible challenge. And then the second, more obvious challenge has just been the pervasive nature of anti-Semitism. I'm a proud progressive. I marched with Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQ community, but those ideological allies have so abandoned us, have so left us, and have championed the causes of evil, of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of the Houthis. So it has been an incredible challenge, and so difficult to see that those who you once thought would stand with you are stabbing you in the back.
Yeah, quite astonishing to witness from both inside and outside of campus. And so, Danielle, what's it been like for you since October the 7th?
I think I have a different situation than Shabbos, considering I go to San Diego State and our campus is very not politically inclined, and it's a generally apathetic campus when it comes to world affairs. And we saw definitely an uptick in a lot of people caring about an issue when they never really have cared about other world affairs before. We've seen a lot of loss of our allies. There's a lot of intimidation going on from the really pro-Hamas anti-Semitic camps on campus, where they really are preventing not only people from standing with us, but even from interacting and engaging with Jewish students. You know, I've been told that verbatim, we don't associate with any student who associates with Hillel. And so the Jewish students have become really isolated on campus, even from non-Israel, non-Middle Eastern affairs that they want to be involved in. They've really been excluded from other groups on campus, whether they be cultural, whether they be political, or even just major and career related. There has been a really big from the ground up intimidation tactic that's been happening among our other minority groups, among our allies. And so the Jewish students have been isolated from all these different groups. And we've also seen a lot of apathy from our student government. on our campus, there was a ceasefire resolution that the SJP was trying to pass. And the Jewish community showed up week after week. They gave public comment. We found seats on the committee. We spoke. We tried to vote and give our input. And we were really just turned down. We were silenced by other groups on campus. The student government doesn't care to hear input because Jewish students on campus have been painted as the oppressors and of the perpetrators of oppression. And no one is really seeing that the hurt that the Jewish students are facing.
So, Sophie, let me go to you. You are at Indiana. Can you share a moment that you're particularly proud of when you successfully stood up to hate?
I would say there's been a lot of those moments, like a lot of the students have talked about on this panel, like there is good and bad. But definitely one of the better moments of coming together was the day that our encampment popped up at our school. It was the third day of Passover. And it was a time where a lot of our community had been together the past few days because of that factor. And just to see that within a day's notice, not even a day's notice, within a morning's notice of the encampment popping up at our school, by that afternoon, we had a large crowd of Jewish and non-Jewish students standing united in both Israeli and American flags, singing songs of peace while we were being screamed words of hatred, just anti-Semitic tropes, things like that being screamed at us. And that's how we stood in the face of that hatred. So that's definitely one of my most proudest moments on campus, is really just seeing how quickly and together our community can just put everything aside and come together and be there for each other in a peaceful way too.
It's amazing. And Liam, there's been such a focus on Columbia. We've watched it play out from coast to coast, eyes glued on your campus. What's it been like from the inside?
Well, I think that one of the most challenging aspects is that the other side, they don't even take the time to listen to us Jewish Zionist students. Once they find out you're Zionist, Jewish, they won't even talk to you. If you're seen with an Israeli flag, people will walk away from you. And I think also one of the most upsetting aspects is the anti-Zionist Jews, which a lot of them are leading this, which I find insane. And also the university, they created an anti-Semitism task force to address it, but it hasn't done anything. What they would do was close the campus gates, which really didn't do anything but just lock Jewish students out of our own campus. But one of the things that I am proud of is that the Jewish community has stuck together. There was a letter that was penned, and it was called like "In Our Name," and I think hundreds of Jewish students, including myself, signed on to it. And it was basically how us Jewish students actually felt on campus when there was politicians, alumni, and again, like anti-Zionist Jewish peers who sought to delegitimize our experiences of anti-Semitism.
That's great. And, the Stand With Us Center for Legal Justice and over 45 Jewish students have now filed an amended federal lawsuit against Columbia and Barnard College for violating Jewish civil rights. So that will continue. And of course, there need to be repercussions. I want to ask you what strategies you think are most effective in combating anti-Semitism at your school. Let's go to Danielle first.
So this is going to kind of tie in with how I believe that Judaism and Zionism are very strictly tied together. I really believe that, as we say at Stand With Us, education is the road to peace. And something that I heard someone say recently is a lot of the time when people are being anti-Semitic, it's not that they say, quote, I hate those people who light candles on Friday nights. It has a lot to do with our peoplehood and what they believe our people to be. And like Sophie was saying, all these anti-Semitic tropes and, stereotypes about the Jewish people. So I really believe that it has a lot to do with being true to who we are in our own spaces outside of the Jewish space, allowing people to interact with us as people and see that, we do show up and do our civic duty. We're kind. We're allies in the community. We care about education. We care about political matters. And then with that, we're also Jewish students, and it really humanizes the Jews on campus. And I think if somebody wakes up and decides that they're going to hate Jews and want to carry out anti-Semitism every day, nothing is going to change their mind. What we can do is really educate people on what the Jewish people are, that we're, humans just like them. And we are also just students that want to show up on campus, go to school, get our degrees, get an education, and try to then work with our allies and with our friends and with our communities to kind of continue furthering that education to other people. I think that it's just a lot about like not backing down and standing up and being proud and showing that we are a people of peace. When we show up in these counter rallies and counter protests and against the encampments, we're not yelling back, vulgar words. We're not yelling back hate speech, but we're standing in peace and we're singing songs of peace. And we are going to continue being a peaceful people and not allow them to make us out to be who they want us to be.
Yeah, we've seen incredible restraint and I would say dignity from student leaders in the face of the other side, which is clearly neither of those things. Sophie, tell us what you think is an effective strategy. What's seen you and your colleagues through there on campus while you've been facing up against this hate?
Yeah, so I definitely think Danielle's right, and it is a huge part of Stand With Us' mission that education is really, really important. And we've been taking proactive measures over the years, trying to get different clubs and different administration groups to let us present on anti-Semitism and both the practical ways that you may have heard about in history class and also new and evolving versions of anti-Semitism. But to add to that, a really, really important thing that we at Indiana University have really gotten to the habit of doing is having these coalition calls and, having Stand With Us professionals and other professionals that are in this world on this call to help us, along with our professional staff from Chabad on campus and Hillel International and our Hillel campus staff. So I think it's so important that when we bring all these groups together, we can have these really good conversations and plan everything out and get everyone on the same page. So this way, when we do have to deal with the emergencies that come up, which is no shortage of in America right now for Jewish students, that everyone is on the same page. There's a plan in action, or you're gathering together to make a plan in action. And just we've really learned from our mistakes in that everyone needs to be on the same page and that we all need to get on that page before we even walk into the room. So definitely taking the time, meeting ahead of time, and getting the entire community on the same page is a really, really important and sometimes difficult step, but it really does make the difference. And we've seen that firsthand.
And let me turn to you now, Shabbos. With so many attendees watching this right now from Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism, Stand With Us, how can these attendees best support these strategies as we look ahead?
Sure. So I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Mothers Against Anti-Semitism is a perfect example. This is a grassroots effort that really took off after October 7th. And you have been remarkably successful in that regard, not only showing support to students who are currently facing anti-Semitism, but by building the building blocks that will prevent these things from happening in the future. So number one, whether it's Harvard or Penn or Yale or Columbia, they all have publicly available contact information. They have phone numbers, they have email addresses. While it's easy for them to ignore the couple of Jewish students who've been fighting back internally, it is very difficult for them to ignore the phone calls and the emails from hundreds of concerned Americans from across the country saying that the treatment of Jewish Americans on college campuses is inexcusable, and what specifically will you do to implement policies to combat anti-Semitism. It will be very difficult for them to ignore that. So that's number one, just reach out. Number two is we are very blessed in the United States in 2024 to have a bipartisan coalition, Democrats and Republicans, who are deeply concerned about this issue. Reach out. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. Reach out to your elected policymakers. Let them know that this is an important issue that you care about. The only reason that the three presidents and later close to a dozen presidents from major institutions were called in front of Congress is because the public's attention demanded of it. It's because that Harvard and Penn and all these universities were in an uncomfortable spotlight. And we have to sustain that outside political pressure. We need to create a culture whereby elected policymakers and university presidents understand that the American people will not be satisfied with the lackluster responses that they've been given so far. And then again, continue to explain to the broader community how vital and how imperative it is that Jewish students are brought into these spaces. They're invited to the conferences and the gatherings. They're given a platform so that they can clearly articulate and educate those in the audience exactly what the reality is for being a Jewish student. And I'll say really one last point, then you can cut me off, is someone was mentioning earlier about the important mission that Stand With Us serves. And I couldn't agree more. If we can cut out anti-Semitism at its source, we will not just have to be putting out fires now, but we will be creating a new generation of young, passionate Jews and non-Jews who care about democratic Western values, who care about the Jewish state, who care about the Jewish people. If we can create that environment in high school already, through fellowships, through seminars, through educational ambassadors, if we can create a passionate young generation of Zionists, of pro-Israel and pro-American students, then we won't just be putting out fires, but we will be on the offense. We will be talking about how imperative something like the state of Israel is in the 21st century.
So important, keeping that pressure up, meeting the moment with strategic educational programs, in addition to being as responsive as possible to the situation on the ground. Liam, let me ask you, what kind of resources do you turn to? What gives you support when you are in the position that you are on campus right now? What have you found useful to help you address anti-Semitism?
Yeah, so I just want to start. So I know Shabbos mentioned that addressing this in high school. So I do want to say that I did participate in a high school program through the American Jewish Committee called Leaders for Tomorrow, which really gave me like a foundational, like I had a foundational understanding, but we went more in depth about the history of Israel and the Jewish people's connection to the land. And I feel like that was a great starting resource. But in college, I think that great resources include watching videos. There's this YouTube channel called M.A.C.A that students can watch and explains everything in a very good way. Also, resources from StandWithUs and the AJC and the ADL. Just really good resources for students to learn the history more and how to combat anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist sentiment on their campus.
Okay, so we are in the summer. We're heading towards summer. I want to ask each of you this question, so let's go around. How can students who are watching, who may be feeling worried about what they're about to face, or parents who are watching, who are worried about their kids, or attendees in general of this symposium, use this time now over the summer to feel better prepared and empowered to navigate anti-Semitism on the campus in the fall? Let's go to you first, Danielle.
So I think it's definitely like a multi-step approach. I think the number one thing I want to tell people is, and it takes a stronger person to do this, but do not shy away from the campus that you love and you are interested in because of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism will always be out there, and it's our job to show up on these campuses and to create, Jewish pride and Jewish representation in those spaces. If we don't go, then there will be a lack of Jewish students and there will be less representation, and it will be much more easier, much more easier for anti-Semitism to kind of breed in those grounds. So I think it's important to go in with whatever resources you can, always educate yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to tell people that you're not sure, and get the information you need, and really, really look to those campus resources. We're so lucky that we have Jewish life and Jewish representation on so many of these campuses, whether it be Chabad, Hillel, JLIC, whatever it is. Reach out to those people, find the other Jewish students that you're going to be on campus with, and form those relationships. This is not an easy battle to fight, and it's much more difficult when you're trying to do it alone. Lean on your community. Our number one strength, I believe, as Jews and as Jewish allies and Zionists, is the community that we have with one another. And so I think it's important to reach out to those people, know that they're there for you, see what you can really accomplish together, and, never feel alone and never feel isolated. But don't back down either. Never check your identity at the door. Don't take no for an answer. Don't allow people to tell you that you do not belong somewhere because you're a Jew and because you believe in Western values and because you believe in the state of Israel. Be proud. Tell people that you will not back down, and, find unity in the people that can support you.
It's a great message. Liam, what do you think about how we navigate the summer as we approach next year?
Yeah, so I think a great way is education. Actually, a friend of mine is he's going to start a program for incoming freshmen at Columbia, where during the first few weeks, they'll go for a few hours, only for a few days, and learn how to address claims of anti-Semitism, such as like claims that they're supporting genocide and other outrageous accusations from JVP and SJP, because otherwise they're just getting thrown into the deep end, because usually in high school this stuff doesn't occur. But for every student, including freshmen, I think just a great way over the summer is to familiarize yourself with all the resources, watch videos from M.A.C.A, from resources from StandWithUs, to just familiarize yourself with the history of Israel, and just how to debunk all these outrageous claims and accusations that are made towards us just because we're supporting the Jewish land of Israel.
Thank you so much. And Sophie, same question to you.
Yeah, I mean, everything Danielle and Liam both said about their ways to deal with it over the summer are great initiatives. I definitely think, reassuring your pride and also making sure that your education is up to date. But the biggest thing is from what I have observed on my own campus and friends' campuses across America, the Jewish community overall has been playing a major game of defense for the past 8 months. And I think it's really important to take this time. We need to be going on offense. And I don't mean that in, we should be divulging from our peaceful and organized ways of going through things. But, let's go on the offense. Let's have a semester planned ahead of time of events that we are going to put our attention to while we don't have a ton of campus work right now. So this way, when we get to campus and the unfortunate emergencies do come up, because unfortunately, I don't think this issue is going anywhere, that all of the events and that part is taken care of so that we can divert our energy towards being on the defense for one small issue versus having to deal with planning events that are proactive while being on defense. I think it's really important that we take this time to organize and, get on the offense of putting events out there for students to come to feel supported and also to learn and, make sure we have that really strong Jewish pride on campus.
Absolutely. And Shabbos, you get the final word.
A lot of pressure. So the question is really critical because it underscores the reality, which is that it will only get worse in the fall. Here at Harvard, we've had students, and in some cases faculty members, quite explicitly state that the student intifada is just beginning. And they have very clearly articulated that Zionists should be off our campus and they don't belong here. We cannot acquiesce. We cannot placate. We cannot give our ideological adversaries 1 inch. So refortify over the summer our core values. I'm very proud of the lawsuit that we filed, and I encouraged everyone to read it. It's publicly available. And why am I so proud of it? Because it underscores that we in the Jewish community are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We have no one to apologize to and nothing to apologize for. We have done nothing wrong. We are the ones who are being treated unequally. We are the ones who are being silenced and being pushed out of intellectual and academic spaces on campus. And so again, refortify our core values that we as Zionists, we as proud Jews, we as proud Americans are not going anywhere. And we do ourselves a tremendous disservice by being on the defense, as was mentioned earlier. If our classmates want Zionists off the campus, then we have a moral duty to increase the amount of Zionists on our campus, to stand even taller, to file more lawsuits, or whatever measures are in place to combat anti-Semitism. And more fundamentally than just combating anti-Semitism is living a proud, open Jewish and Zionist lifestyle. So it's an important question because it recognizes that things will continue to escalate. We at Harvard have feckless leadership. We have not had any accountability from these pro-Hamas students and professors. So if Harvard cannot do its own job, if they will not do its due diligence, then we as Jewish students will have to do that ourselves.
We could not have wished for a more excellent panel. I want to thank you all, incredible students, for joining us in this conversation today. In a world that's been characterized by all too much darkness, each one of you, my friends, is a point of light. So thank you for teaching each of us what it means to be a leader for Israel and for the Jewish people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank these incredible students for joining us in conversation today and for teaching each of us what it means to be a leader for Israel and the Jewish people. And to continue the theme with highlighting exemplary courage and action, we're going to introduce our Celebrating Campus Heroes Awards. With over 150 nominations from across the country, here are our awardees, as well as some special mentions. In the category of student leadership, we had an overwhelming number of student nominations, and we want to highlight a few additional leaders before announcing our awardee. Sarah Schuchman, Drew University, who in the wake of October the 7th, revitalized the Student Supporting Israel Club as the group's president and started an Instagram page to combat misinformation that quickly amassed hundreds of followers. Sarah leveraged her campus influence to work with faculty and administrators on rewriting campus policies to better address and mitigate issues of discrimination and bias. Andrei Pikovsky at Loyola University who has demonstrated remarkable courage by standing near campus protests, often alone, unwavering, and unafraid with an Israeli flag, despite being physically attacked for doing so. Andre is an active leader in the Israel Student Alliance on campus who has organized impactful events like hosting a Nova massacre survivor. And now I want to introduce Stand With Us co-founder and CEO Roz Rothstein, who will introduce our Celebrating Campus Heroes student awardee and share best practices from Stand With Us about how you can support Jewish students on campus. Roz.
Thank you, Michael. I'm Roz Rothstein, CEO and co-founder of Stand With Us, an international Israel education organization. During this unprecedented surge in anti-Semitism around the world, the work of Stand With Us has never been more critical. What we're seeing on campuses is truly horrific, with pro-Hamas protests, violent rhetoric and attacks, disruptive encampments that have blocked the paths of Jewish and other students who disagree with the encampments, and the targeting and bullying of Zionist students and faculty. At Stand With Us, supporting Israel and combating anti-Semitism is at the core of our mission. It is the daily call to action, especially on college campuses where anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bigotry has festered so much and too often goes unchecked by university administrators. As a leader on campus, Stand With Us is on the front lines working with thousands of students, supporting them in a variety of ways, like planning and funding over 1,500 pro-Israel rallies, demonstrations, current events briefings, and other educational programs. We help students when delegitimization campaigns come to their campuses, like calls for divestment and boycott. We help students fight bias and distortion in the classroom and attempts to marginalize Jews and Zionists from campus life. We engage friends and allies outside of the Jewish community, like, for example, Christian, Black, and Hindu communities. We provide pro bono legal support, giving students the representation they need in cases of discrimination, harassment, the filing of Title VI complaints, and class action suits against universities to demand accountability while also protecting students' identity. We help students advocate for a better, safer campus climate among university leaders. We help amplify student voices and campaigns on our social media channels, sharing their experiences and also highlighting their Zionist pride and unwavering courage in the face of hate. And of course, we empower our student leaders with leadership training and skills that they need through our programs like the Stand With Us Emerson Fellowship and FLY, which is our first-year leadership internship, empowering hundreds of students each year to engage and educate their peers and drive meaningful change on their campuses. We invite you to get involved in our efforts by interacting with our content on social media to proudly share Israel's story. We invite you to utilize our free educational booklets and materials to inform yourselves and others. Please sign up on our website for our newsletters with action alerts and local rallies and events. Don't forget to report incidents to our campus and legal teams so they can provide you and your child with comprehensive support. And of course, please remember to support our work. This past year, we engaged 150,000 college students through our campus and other programs and campaigns. And of course, please support our work. This past year, we engaged 150,000 college students through our campus programs and campaigns. We also engaged very high numbers through our high school programs. You can help us reach even more students next year at a time when our support for the pro-Israel student community is so badly needed. And now, it is my honor to present the Campus Heroes Student Award to Jake Thompson an influential young leader at the University of Oregon. As an active and dedicated member of Ducks for Israel, Jake has led significant efforts to clean up anti-Semitic vandalism and posters across the campus and across Eugene. Jake has proactively advocated for his community and educated leaders about condemning hate on campus, including his own fraternity, to the university president and to the Honors College. Jake bravely addressed the Student Senate, where he advocated for the condemnation and removal of pro-Hamas encampments, an effort that was also covered in the school newspaper. Jake has remained a committed advocate for Israel and the Jewish community on campus. He proudly wears a giant Magen David, representing his deep pride in his Jewish identity, and has worked tirelessly to report anti-Semitic incidents and demand accountability from his university. Congratulations, Jake, on all your incredible accomplishments and on receiving this special award. Please know that at Stand With Us, all of us are standing with you. Mazal Tov.
Thank you guys so much for giving me this award. I thank you to M.A.C.A and to Stand With Us for this. I mean, this is a huge, huge honor. And I never really would have thought that it would be me that won this award. So thank you for recognizing me. I just want to kind of explain how I got involved in all of this and to show really that anything is possible. I started in, I wasn't involved in civic life or really in any of this until my spring of my freshman year in college, when I went into this thing called an Inside Out program, where I went inside the Oregon State Penitentiary at maximum security prison with 10 outside students, university students, and we went inside and learned about humanity and goodness and the meaning of life inside the prison with 10 incarcerated guys. And it changed my life, and it changed the way that I view a lot of things. And the core piece of the class that we always went back to every single day was this quote in the book that we read, Stalingrad, by Vasily Grossman, where the character Ikonikov says, "There is neither the God nor the good, but there is goodness," meaning that there is individual goodness from man to man, and that is all we have. And that is my duty, your duty, all of our duty, to stand up for what's right, to stand up for peace and kindness, and to always do the right thing. And that's how I got involved with this, through philanthropy, through community service. And all it took was one thing to get me involved. And I went down this whole path and met all these wonderful people in the Jewish community through the University of Oregon, through M.A.C.A, through Stand With Us. And it's really been a wonderful experience. So I just want to thank all of you and remind you that no one is going to stand up for you and that you have to do it.
Now, in this category of leadership from faculty, we have several professors to highlight based on your nominations. Galia Lahab from Stony Brook University. She actively opposed violent campus protests and was the sole pro-Israel voice defending the university's president's efforts to relocate the pro-Hamas encampment to allow a Hillel event to safely proceed. In a faculty senate meeting against a no confidence vote, the petition she organized with over 300 signatures successfully shifted the Senate stance. Craig Klugman from DePaul University, who established the DePaul Jewish Faculty and Staff Alliance, organized anti-Semitism trainings and fostered community among Jewish faculty and students. He created events like Unity Shabbat dinners and distributing Jewish safe cards. His efforts have also extended to broader educational initiatives, such as spearheading the university's first formal anti-Semitism training session. And Ron Hassner from UC Berkeley, who initiated his own sit-in process by sleeping in his office, conducting classes from Zoom, and hosting a safe space for students affected by the hostile climate on campus. Hassner's protest garnered a ton of attention in calling out Berkeley University administrators for not doing enough to protect Jewish students. And now I want to introduce an attorney and M.A.C.A board member to introduce our Celebrating Campus Heroes faculty awardees and share insight and action items from M.A.C.A. Please welcome Emma Law Altman.
In a year that has felt overwhelming and so lonely for so many, the choice of which faculty member to honor was hard. We have seen so many faculty members step up, and every single one of our nominees deserves recognition. That said, this award goes to Brett Kaufman and Carrie Nelson at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign for their unwavering commitment to Jewish students and for the significant impact their program has had on campus. They'll talk more about their efforts to organize and mobilize faculty. Congratulations.
We are so truly honored and humbled to receive this award. It's important for us to point out that the struggle against hatred can't be won alone, and we certainly didn't achieve our accomplishments this past year without lots of help. Our local community has come together in an amazing way. The Jewish community for sure, but not just them. Also people on campus and across the state of Illinois who love American freedoms and are against indoctrinating students. The faculty chapter we founded now has 80 members, led by an amazing executive committee, including Richard Ross, Helene Silverman, Barbara Risman, Lee DeVille, and Yuli Baryshnikov. The role of Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism and Stand With Us cannot be understated. These organizations have taken the lead in pushing back and restoring a framework for moderate and moral voices to prevail on college campuses, where the minds of future leaders are either shaped or warped.
So we are organizing both in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, which is very much in the middle of the state, and also in Chicago. And our 80 faculty members come from both campuses. These are very different worlds. Champaign-Urbana is in the midst of farmland. Chicago is, of course, one of our major cities in the U.S., one of the major cities in the world, with a very different kind of population. So it gives us a picture of the world, really, because the rural and the urban match the polarities in so much of the planet Earth. But a lot of work remains. Anti-Zionist faculty have been emboldened by the success of their violent protests and their scare tactics. But research has shown that family support can make a real difference in whether students can survive and actually thrive in a college environment that can be really hostile. So Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism can also draw attention to the damage some faculty do by spreading lies about Israel and about Jewish identity in their publications, and worse still, in the classroom. I just brought out a new book called Hate Speech and Academic Freedom, in which I try to suggest some solutions we can pursue to combat faculty anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, we never forget our hearts remain broken as the hostages are still kidnapped in Gaza. In the coming months and years will be hard, but we have to push back. And we are tremendously thankful that this group has given us such an important platform on which to continue fighting this fight. And we're excited to continue our work together. The process of building our membership of 80 people has been very deliberate. We invite one person, we discuss with them, we try to invite someone that we've heard about or that other people know about, that we can count on to be more or less on our side, to believe that the Jewish state has a right to exist and that Jewish students have a right to identify with that state. So we build this membership, 80 faculty members, which is really a huge number, out of people feeling that common purpose with us. And I think we feel that common purpose with Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism. We are all the same, and it's just It's very exciting to be in this fight together. So thank you so very much.
In our next category, we'll be celebrating heroes from both Chabad and Hillel, who've been doing extensive work engaging students. For some special mentions, we'd like to acknowledge two special people. Adina Kirstein at Hillel of George Washington University. During the 2-week encampment at GWU, where protesters used aggressively anti-Semitic slogans, Adina vigorously engaged and educated administrators. She advocated for student safety and provided direct support to concerned parents and students. Her efforts included organizing an Israel Jewish Pride rally and delivering a poignant speech about the need for leadership on campus and beyond. Rabbi David Teichel from Illini Chabad at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, who's built strong relationships with campus leadership, actively educated them on issues relating to the Jewish community, and led one of the largest student delegations to the March for Israel rally in Washington, D.C. to meet top congressional leaders, and is hosting the largest birthright trip to Israel since October 7th. I'm calling upon Tom Way, the Chief Strategy Officer at Chabad on Campus International, to introduce one of our campus professional awardees and reflect on how to get involved with Chabad's critical work on campus.
Thank you, Michael. I'm honored to be here today at the request of Stand With Us and Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism to present this incredible award to a couple on campus that are true heroes, to Rabbi Yossi and Mrs. Chani Serebriansky. Rabbi Yossi and Chani are 2 out of 793 dedicated rabbis and rebbitzins that work with campuses every day to support students across 892 different universities and colleges. Every day, these rabbis and rebbitzins are supporting more than 150,000 students. And since October 7th, those numbers have swelled. And we know at different points, in excess of 180,000 students have come to different events to support Israel, to support Jewish life on campus, to seek support for the life they are trying to lead as a Jewish student on campus. We encourage everyone that is supporting Jewish students, that is supporting life on campus since October 7th, and with this struggle to have unique Jewish identity, to step forward, support their local Chabad on campus, support their students, and to get engaged by calling your campus rabbi and rebbitzin and asking them what you can do for student life. But now let's speak about this incredible couple. Rabbi Yossi and Mrs. Chani Serebriansky are beloved on campus and in the wider community. When an encampment started at the University of Denver, the university offered to erect barricades to protect the Jewish students. Rabbi Yossi requested tables and chairs, not barricades. He wanted to talk. He wanted to create an environment that was supportive of all student life. Also serve a little bit of food to nourish the students as well as campus safety personnel. On Rabbi Yossi's Facebook page, you can see him chatting with keffiyeh-clad protesters who are hanging out at his table, smiling and communicating and talking about Israel. Kol hakavod to Rabbi Yossi and Mrs. Chani for knowing what to say, how to engage, how to create conversation, and to grow love and goodwill between Jewish students and those against Israel and fighting against the Jewish community at University of Denver. Rabbi Yossi even showed a photo of a Jewish protester putting on tefillin at the encampment. Profound when you see that. Who knows what seeds of love and hope and goodwill were planted in the hearts of protesters, seeing others standing by the side, recognizing the actions of Rabbi Yossi and Mrs. Chani, who were deflecting anger with love and care. Thank you, Rabbi Yossi and Mrs. Chani Serebriansky of Denver, Colorado. The story is buzzing around the adults of the wider Denver Jewish community, adding hope, optimism, and confidence during this very challenging time on the American campus.
Thank you so much to M.A.C.A and Stand With Us for this amazing award given to us for our work here on campus at the University of Denver, especially as of late with the encampments and all the activity that's been going on campus. Our attitude since the encampments began was to be present for students and engage them in joyful Judaism and try to connect them with each other, them with us, and them with any resources we felt might be helpful for them to be strengthened during this very difficult time.
This is not the primary reason we're on campus. We open our home and we celebrate joyful Judaism with the community and their friends. When since October 7th, there are so many people on the edges of the Jewish community who are not sure how they should present themselves Jewishly on campus, that have been struggling. And I really need to say that my wife, Chani, has really done most of the work, which is to just be present and hold the pain that so many of the students were feeling. And during our little encampment, we made a point to show up every single day with food, to be visibly Jewish, to show our students that they were safe physically, and being safe emotionally is about empowering themselves to be proud of their Jewish identity and not in any way to feel that they needed to hide that. And the highlight for us was we welcomed the Torah. And we marched our new Torah that we finished on campus right through the footpaths that so many Jewish students had avoided while the encampment was up. And in a certain sense, we empowered them. It was cathartic to be able to march and sing and dance down those footpaths that caused so much pain to our community.
The year had started on a negative note, obviously, with October 7th being very close to our school year here at the University of Denver, where we're on the quarter system. And it started on a negative note. It's been a year of struggle. And so when we commissioned a Torah and thought of it being written this year, we thought we must celebrate this monumental event before the students depart for summer. And so we were able to do that. We had the provost of our university, who's been an amazing resource and personal friend of ours, come and address the parents and friends and family and community who are here to assure and reconfirm her commitment to us and to the Jewish community. And we've learned since then that the anti-Israel sentiment there are going to be very strict rules and boundaries with it coming up in the fall. And hopefully they'll be implemented and the students who come to campus will feel more safe next year.
So we're shocked. We really appreciate our students. And now we really have to say we appreciate the moms of our students for nominating us. This is an honor which we hope will never have to be awarded again. Just because let's pray and let's hope for better times, for safer times. Mm-hmm. And really all our prayers are for peace in our holy land and safety and prosperity for us as a people, and our end of the world vision of peace for all mankind. May it be fulfilled in our times. Amen.
And we feel humbled as well, because there's so much amazing work that so many organizations, professionals have been doing on various campuses around the country to fight the hatred and squelch the wrong narratives and do all of that. So having us be honored and nominated for this award, which we're so gratefully accepting, is really very humbling for us. We want to say thank you to Stand With Us, saying thank you to Moms Against College Anti-Semitism. Keep up your good work. And as Rabbi Yossi just said, let's not have to do this in the future. Am Yisrael Chai.
And now, featuring John Falk, Vice President of Hillel International's Israel Action and Addressing Anti-Semitism program, who will introduce our next campus professional awardee and some of Hillel's key initiatives on campus.
I am so lucky to get to share and announce this award winner, Amanda Herring. I've known Amanda since we were both working on campus as Hillel professionals more than a decade ago. Then we got to work at the Israel on Campus Coalition together. And now we each are back at Hillel. I'm at Hillel International, and Amanda is the director of Virginia Tech Hillel. Amanda is really a leader when we think about campus directors. She knows this campus well, as she went undergrad at Virginia Tech. Students really look up to her as a mentor. They look up to her as the leader of Jewish life on campus. And it's such an honor to be able to give this award to Amanda. I'm so lucky for all the work that Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism does in recognizing leaders, folks who are not just willing to stand up to anti-Semitism, but are loud advocates for Jewish life and are loud advocates against hatred of the Jewish people. So really, I can't be more excited to give this award to Amanda. I'm so thankful for Stand With Us for all that they're doing in really recognizing a top Hillel professional like Amanda. Her leadership, I couldn't have asked for a better director at this moment to be at Virginia Tech. So Amanda, it's just such an honor to be able to give you this award.
Thank you so much for recognizing the hard work of campus professionals across the world this past year. It was my first year as the executive director of Hillel at Virginia Tech. And while it wasn't at all the year that I expected, I am just so grateful to be on this campus with my amazing colleagues and students and administrators at the university. I'm just so glad to be here for them. And the students inspire me every day with their strength, resiliency, and commitment to dialogue and nuance on campus.
In our next category, we'll be celebrating the campus parents who've stepped up as heroes to mobilize and advocate for students across the country. I'm inviting Elizabeth Rand, founder of Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism, to help celebrate our Campus Parent Awardee. Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rand, and I am the founder of Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism, which I formed on October 26th, 2023. And I formed the group because I was in other Facebook groups, and I saw that after October 7th, a lot of the groups I was in, particularly those for parents of kids who were at sort of the end of high school, early college, were really, really upset, angry, and frightened about what was going on college campuses across the country. So M.A.C.A, or Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism, is a Facebook group. We are now 60,000 strong. We formed a 501c3, which we are waiting to get approval for. We have a lot of things in store. Right now, I really encourage people to get involved. You can just look us up on Facebook, Mothers Against College Anti-Semitism. We have calls to action every day, which are very simple emails that you can click and share. We do different projects. I'm working on one right now specifically for incoming freshmen, the class of 2028. So please get involved and become part of the group. You'll also find a lot of support. So that's very important right now. Anyway, I am thrilled to present this award to Kara Silver, a mother at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Kara was nominated by the fellow moms at University of Wisconsin-Madison. In the thick of the encampments, Kara hopped on a plane to advocate for Jewish and Zionist students who were being ignored by UW administration. She found students and helped them mobilize. She printed and shared a banner demanding no negotiation without Jewish representation. Kara took action when it felt like no one else would, and in doing so, she helped the Jewish kids feel heard. As the founder of M.A.C.A, I believe Kara really embodies the spirit of M.A.C.A. We are moms who refuse to accept the blind eye approach and who take action. Congratulations, Kara. You make us so proud.
Since October 7th, I saw neo-Nazis march through University of Wisconsin, and I saw from talking to my daughter's friends that they were losing faith in the administration and felt it was just hopeless trying to be heard by the chancellor. Thousands of us parents were writing one letter after another with no acknowledgement by administrators, while they were continually letting the pro-terror supporters get away with taking over the campus. And this is with a Jewish chancellor. Anyway, one day I saw on social media that some of the Jewish students they were gathering peacefully, they were singing and dancing across from the pro-terror supporters in the tents, and I loved it. I was so proud of them, but I was feeling like we weren't getting anywhere with the school. So I called Chabad Rabbi Mendel Matisoff, and he said they were going to be gathering again for a Havdalah ceremony. And a light bulb went off. I felt this was our opportunity. They were making all these demands of the school. We needed to ask for something as well in public, I felt. So there's nothing wrong with these proud Jewish kids holding up signs and banners asking for some representation while singing and gathering. So I knew I had to make this happen if it was the last thing I did on earth. Within hours, I hopped on a plane by myself from New Jersey to Wisconsin without knowing what the heck I was doing, except knowing I'm going to stand there with signs demanding something like equal representation, and I'll make them with magic markers and oak tag if I have to. Thankfully, I had M.A.C.A moms from University of Wisconsin on WhatsApp communicating with me the whole time. And we're all good at something. I'm pretty good at executing ideas, but no clue how to do graphic design. But I had a remote team. One woman made the most amazing banners and sent them to a Walgreens to pick up. Another woman, Julie Roth, she'd been the eyes and ears as to the evil being allowed to fester on campus with these hate groups from the beginning. Other moms were crafting a petition. Another mom, Darian Drescher, she met me to get the banners. We walked around with them and the students, and we showed them to the dean of students who happened to be there that night. And to our surprise, we learned that we had to differentiate between wanting Jewish representation and Jewish Zionist representation. The dean actually said administrators had been meeting with Jewish students, but the two students she was referring to were not the 100 pro-Israel supporting kids that were standing with us, but were the girls that were with the anti-Israeli encampments. So hence the slogan now, no negotiations without Jewish Zionist representation. Anyway, I met so many good, courageous Jewish kids wanting to be heard and to step up. Two brave young men who took a keffiyeh off a statue in front of protesters, and we got them on TV news. Finally, the Jewish kids were being heard and interviewed for the first time, and we gave interviews to the media. All I want to say to try and inspire other moms and dads, bubbies, zadies, try not to be afraid this coming school year and go to your kids' campuses to help them make change. Even if your kids don't want you to, even if it's a long trip or a lot of money or you have work, do what you have to do what feels right, speak up and out in person even. And I know kids have to advocate for themselves, but there's still kids I saw who need our help in person just a little bit to feel less afraid or to learn to speak up Jewish and have their voices heard in this dire situation. The University of Wisconsin kids were finally heard after the dean saw the banners. And 2 days later, the chancellor finally asked to meet, and they got a seat at the table, and they expressed their requests and finally had a voice, which was a win in my books. Although my own daughter at first, she didn't even want me to be that outspoken mom making waves. She came around eventually. I know is really proud of me now, which is the best part. But even after getting a seat at the table, the school still gave in to some of the the demands from the SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine group. So we have a lot more work ahead. I feel protect our kids and God will protect us. And thank you, M.A.C.A. Thank you, Stand With Us, for your tireless efforts and for this award. And if little old me can make a difference, so can you.
Now, as the Beatles said, I'll get by with a little help from my friends. In the fight against anti-Semitism and discrimination, we are grateful for our friends and allies who've stepped up to support our students on campus. For our final award today, I'll be personally introducing Professor Jacob M.A.C.A. at Occidental College, the winner of the Upstander Award, recognizing his leadership as a non-Jewish professor who stood in solidarity with Jewish students and consistently advocated for their needs during this time of heightened anti-Semitism on campus. Professor M.A.C.A. distinguished himself as the sole tenured professor at Occidental College to publicly challenge a faculty letter that demonized Israel. He's not only engaged in public discourse through articles and social media, but also provided a safe haven for Jewish students, helping them feel supported in an otherwise hostile environment. His actions, taken at great personal risk, underscore the profound impact that non-Jewish allies can have in supporting Jewish communities and fostering a safe and inclusive learning environment. Students and stakeholders at Occidental and beyond are especially appreciative of Jacob's friendship and allyship, and we are so excited to celebrate him as a true hero. Please join me in honoring Professor Jacob M.A.C.A.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored and I'm flattered to receive this Stand With Us and M.A.C.A. award. After October 7th, I sort of fell into the role of an activist, if you will, quite accidentally. A large number of faculty on my campus wrote an anti-Israel letter that seemed to me to justify the actions of Hamas on October 7th. And I found this letter to be, which was circulating on the campus, I found it to be so vicious and so unacceptable that I had no choice but to speak out. And I really was thinking about all the students on campus, some of whom had family in Israel, some of whom had citizenship in Israel, some of whom may have just loved and appreciated Israel. And I couldn't help but think, how are they feeling to know that so many of their professors who they trust, whose classrooms they've been in, are saying such vicious things about Israel? So I felt that a countervailing voice was absolutely necessary. I felt that the students on the campus needed to hear that there were professors who did not agree with the vicious attack on Israel that was coming from some of the faculty. So I spoke out, and I spoke out first on social media and then quickly took to the pages of the campus newspaper, where I attempted to articulate an alternative perspective on Israel and on the conflict in Gaza to the one that was being put forward by so many of my colleagues. And from there, I sort of just became the voice on campus. I became a sort of accidental activist, speaking out on these matters and communicating with parents who had students on campus, parents who were worried about the climate, worried about the safety of their kids. And I continue to think that it's important that at least one professor on my campus routinely and regularly takes to the student paper to articulate a viewpoint that stands against the deeply, anti-Israel voice that we hear so much on my campus. And so that's the role that I have fallen into, and I'm happy to occupy it. And I really appreciate this award as a recognition of those efforts. Thank you so much.
Everyone involved in this program is a campus hero, from our panelists to presenters to award winners to the countless nominations that we received. Now is the time for all of us to step up and be heroes for Israel, the Jewish people, and our students in need. We applaud the teams at M.A.C.A and Stand With Us who organized this symposium, Emma Law Ottman and Amy Stein-Nathan from M.A.C.A, and Lana Safrin Betesh and Rena Nasser First from Stand With Us, and bringing together this vibrant community of advocates, educators, and leaders. So as we conclude today's symposium, let us carry forward the lessons learned today. We can all make a difference by working together, standing up, and taking action. We hope you were inspired by the various pathways for involvement and the incredible leaders that we honored. Together, we'll stand united for Israel and against anti-Semitism on campus. Thank you for standing with us. Thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned for more from Stand With Us and M.A.C.A. Am Yisrael Chai.